Australia in this federal budget. Thank you.
The question is that the House do now adjourn, and I call the honourable member for Lyne.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. Late in 2020, we saw a major milestone reached on the Pacific Highway upgrade. Motorists can now travel between Sydney and Brisbane on a 4-lane divided highway. Since 1996, the Commonwealth and the New South Wales Government have worked together to undertake the largest civil infrastructure project in the country, transforming and upgrading the Pacific Highway from Hexham up to the Queensland border. The last 155-kilometre stretch of the puzzle from Ballina to Woolgoolga is now open. It's saving at least 25 minutes. $4.9 billion of spend has gone into that. In my first term representing the Lyne electorate, we had the Oxley Highway upgrade to Kempsey. That was another $1 billion virtually, with multiple crossings. But this last piece of the puzzle means we've completed the duplication to the Queensland Highway. Since 1996, fatalities have dropped, particularly in this last 7.5 years. In 1996, there were 40 fatal crashes. In 2019, there were only 20. All the major towns have been bypassed now, and we have budget allocations for the bypass of Coffs Harbour. But whilst it's not bypassed, it's duplicated, it's dual lane the whole way. With these projects now completed and the other bypasses at Coffs Harbour on the agenda and funding set aside, we need to move on to the next phase, Mr Deputy Speaker, a specific program that revisits and goes back to completing all the intersectional upgrades along the Pacific Highway. A specific program that gets these intersections that are incredibly dangerous and source of huge log jams on weekends, on peak times. Across the Hunter, we have $1.5 billion on the table. New South Wales are doing the planning to bypass from Black Hill over to bypass Raymond Terrace and join again beyond Tomago at Heatherbrae. That will be a great boon. But the big ones that are causing all the major fatalities are the Medowie Road intersection with the Pacific Highway, which links Newcastle Airport and Williamtown Air Force Base, the Buckets Way intersection that feeds all the traffic down from Gloucester and the Barrington Tops, the Myall Way intersection at Tea Gardens and Hawk's Nest, the Failford Road intersection with the Pacific Highway feeding into Forster-Tuncurry just at Nabiac, the Harrington Road crossing that should be linking Coopernook and Harrington. It's an incredibly dangerous intersection at Harrington Road. And lastly, the Houston-Mitchell Drive at Lake Cat-Eye, Bonny Hills. More serious crashes. It's only time before we have a multi-car or truck or bus crash in that place. We all realise that these intersections are a cause of great concern. They are all important, and I urge the New South Wales Government to get on and start planning, the detailed planning, so that the Commonwealth Government, we have a long-standing agreement, an 80%, 20% mix with the state government on the Pacific Highway. We have delivered our promise since 2013, $5.3 billion and the biggest civil infrastructure program. But back in the 90s when they were planning it, they didn't have the flyovers. So 110-kilometre-an-hour traffic has to slow down, cross traffic lanes. Speed reduction is necessary because fatalities at Medowie Road. Two of the directors of one of the local clubs were killed. There was a fatality at the Buckets Way intersection. Trucks trying to cross 4 lanes highway with big, long trailers is just a recipe for a major disaster. The sooner we get that commitment, the sooner we can plan here at the federal level, and I urge all those people in the planning in New South Wales. They have done a lot of the concept designs. It's very advanced. We just need a rock-solid commitment so that we can move on to the next phase of the Pacific Highway upgrade, and that is ironing out all these dangerous intersections. No more log jams for 7 or 8 kilometres on long weekends, and reduce the fatalities, increase safety, increase productivity, have an intersection-free way into the Tomago industrial area and into the Newcastle airport. It's a no-brainer. We've just got to get on and complete it.
The question is that the House